tonight probably doesn't need a lot of introduction. I'll give him one anyways. 2007, Peter, along with his co-founder Daniel, set up a project management and collaboration platform with one simple goal, that was to help people to work more productively and smarter. In 11 short years, probably doesn't feel like that, they've grown to over 240 employees worldwide with turnovers of 25 million. Last year, probably the height of their achievements, they were given the EY Entrepreneur of the Year award. So without further ado, please give an upstanding welcome to Peter Coppinger, CEO of Teamwork.
Thanks a lot.
You're blushing.
Yeah.
Besides the Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year, I believe there's another congratulations to you and your new rival last week.
Absolutely, my best startup yet. Second little girl, Zoe, was born last week. It was a bit of a surprise, 3 weeks early, so that was great. And we've another little girl, 17 months old. Yeah, it's actually less tiring to come here, to be honest. Thanks for the warm words there, lads. I suppose it's kind of shocking when you hear you say it like that we've 240 people now and we're doing 25 million revenue dollars. But it still feels like a small company. It still feels like we've a long way to go. I don't know about world domination yet. We've a long way to go, but we're certainly working on it.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I want to get to the culture at Teamwork and the challenges you face as you kind of reach that 240 number and beyond. But I guess bring us back to 2007, how you come up with the idea of the product, the dynamic between yourself and Daniel. Maybe take from there.
Yeah, so let me see. I have to take you back first. Myself and Dan met in college, and when I was a young fella, I heard about this guy, Bill Gates, and I always wanted to get to college, meet like-minded people, and build a software company and take over the world, which is a weird thing for a 14-year-old, I suppose. But I got to college, and to be honest, I was really disillusioned. All the other people in my class were not really interested in entrepreneurship or computers in general, and I was a bit upset, I suppose. But I cracked on anyway, and one day I finally met Dan Mackey, who was the only other person I'd ever met who had same kind of interest in entrepreneurship and software development, and self-taught himself software at home and made games and everything else, kind of very similar background. We actually had competing web design companies is how we met each other. So when the internet started, I was going around Cork City into clubs and bars and nightclubs, and I was saying, hey, do you want a website for £400? And they were like, what's a website? What's the internet? And then one day, I was getting the odd one, and one day I went into a pub and they said, weren't you in here yesterday? And I said, no. And that's when I learned there was another guy going around Cork City.
Very sorry.
And he was doing the exact same thing, trying to make a bit of money off this fledgling internet thing. So we were bitter rivals. I was called Internet Solutions Ireland, which is very pretentious. I remember somebody asking me, do I have a VAT number once, and I didn't have a clue what he was on about. And Dan was called Future ID. And we were bitter rivals until we finally met in college, went for a few pints. We both
sorted out your grievances.
Sorted out our grievances. We both ended up dropping out of college because this internet thing was happening. And we wanted to make a bit of money. And fast forward 7 years, we had built a consultancy called Digital Crew. And we always did great work. We worked really hard, always went an extra mile for our customers, but we weren't making good money. We got smart about things, doubled our prices, started charging for all the extra work, started doing staged contracts and so on, and suddenly we had a thriving, successful internet company with it. We built maybe 200 database.
Where does that commercial acumen come from? Because you're not pure. That's not a pure coding thing.
Well, I'm giving you the short version, but the long version is we had the taxman beating down the door, and then you learn maybe not to spend the VAT money and things like that. We made all the mistakes is where the commercial acumen came from, I suppose. So 7 hard years of making all the mistakes, we finally had a successful company. And our biggest problem then was that we just had too many projects on. So we had maybe 4 members of staff. We were still working 100 hours a week. And we just were taking as many projects as we could, and we were stacking the projects up on a big whiteboard in the corner of the office. And then somebody would call us and scream that you were meant to have my website, CRM system, database-driven application, whatever, was meant to be launched last week, and that would become the new priority. And we thought there has to be a better way to run a company. So we started looking around at how other companies run their companies. So the internet was fledgling still at this stage. SaaS didn't really exist like it does now. but there was a few small project management startups at the time. There was GoPlan, there was Basecamp, there was a few others. We tried Basecamp, we tried GoPlan, and we tried a few others, and we found we couldn't genuinely run our company on them. So for example, in Basecamp at that time, you could put in a list of tasks, and you could put those tasks on a project, but you couldn't set a due date on the task. So everything looked the same. When you went in the morning and you had 400 tasks looking at you, you didn't know which ones were due today and which ones are due tomorrow, which ones are high priority, which ones aren't high priority.
Take that for granted now.
Yeah, absolutely. And you couldn't attach a file to a task, you couldn't leave comments on a task. So the systems that were there at the time were incredibly basic. So we thought we're building more complicated, better applications for our customers every day of the week. At this stage, we were building applications for Pfizer and for Lilly. We had built maybe 200 database-driven applications over the years. So we'd learned how to do rapid application development. So probably, I don't want to give you the too long version, but
no,
we built Teamwork in our spare time. We launched it October 2007. We worked on it weekends, nights, Fridays, in addition to our consultancy work.
I was going to say, you were still sustaining yourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Still bootstrapped, still, this is just a side project. We started using Teamwork to run our own company. We're finding all the rough edges, and we still do that today. We still use all our own software. We launched this thing to the web, and in our first month, we made $187.
Boom.
Boom.
Cash transfers.
But
that's exciting though, because
yeah,
it's like consulting. You're selling a service. It's time for money, but actually building a product and someone actually valuing that's obviously.
Well, the beautiful thing about this is we didn't no marketing chops whatsoever. We were just two nerd developers. We made the worst website in the world, terrible website. We picked the worst domain name you could pick. We knew we wanted to call it Teamwork. Teamwork.com was unavailable. The guy wanted 20 million for it at the time, so we moved on. So we picked the terrible name, teamworkpm.net. We launched this grubby website, and somewhere magically, somebody somewhere found us, despite being listed on page 20 of Google, and we made $187 that first month.
Who was that first customer?
I don't know. I should know actually, but I'm sure they're still with us today. But
it's Disney. They were plugged to startup at the time.
This side project, we wired it up so that we were still running our consultancy during the day, and we used to have Homer Simpson play Pizza Money every time we got a sale. And we might get a sale once every 2 weeks. Pizza Money, and we'd be delighted with ourselves. And then it might be once a week, and then over time it became once a day, and then it became 5 times a day, and then it became 50 times a day. We had pizza money, pizza money, pizza money. So we had to turn it off.
It's retiring.
First world problems. But we were a bit afraid. So at this time, we should point out that VC wasn't really a thing. It wasn't a thing to go away and get your idea and raise a load of money. And we should also point out that everybody we told our idea to said it was a terrible idea. So, we talked to different startup boards, and they're like, so you want to put tasks online and people can check them off. Yeah, but it's going to be better than everyone else. And they were like, no, we're not backing this. So we just plowed on and did our own thing. Got to the point, anyway, just cut a long story short, where we were doing 30,000 a month from our side project. So we finally gave up our kind of day job and went full-time at this.
Yeah, 30,000 a month is, that's definitely enough to make a reason. So what year was that? That was...
Well, it took us 3 years. We launched in October 4, 2007, and it was 3 years, 30 months or so, till we got to 30,000 a month.
Yeah. It's a great model to kind of, I know it's probably not sustainable long term, you're probably working 7 days a week.
So I recommend if you're 2 developer nerds and you're in your 20s and you don't have a lot of expenses, absolutely this is a great way to go.
Yeah.
If you're over 30, you're in your 40s like I am now, as of 2 weeks ago, you probably need to take on the money because you can't afford to do this.
Of course, yeah, you've got lifestyle.
But I'd love to see more companies, because it's never been cheaper to develop a software. I'd love to encourage more companies to give the self-funded route a go.
So I'm trying to pay with an iPhone here. Rejects.
It's a lovely fire, by the way.
It's not really, don't worry, you won't burn your back. So I suppose you're around an interesting time, so kind of cloud is becoming more prevalent, it's probably becoming cheaper to kind of host applications there. We're talking about the onset of social media, so that whole sphere has become more and more popular. But then there's also the idea that ye had is being replicated kind of multiple instances around the world. So I'm talking about Slack, Trello, Asana, a lot of applications I would have taken for granted at the time, around the time I heard about Teamwork.
Yeah.
So like, how do you compete with these large companies, large heavily funded VC companies in the States. I mean,
Yep.
what was I suppose, how did you go about that? What were the aggressive tactics they used? What was the dynamic like? I think is the...
All right, so if I take you back, we built a couple of features that helped our product stand out. That was the first thing. So we had a bit of word of mouth marketing that worked in our favor. People wrote blogs about us. We always had fanatical customer support. Twitter had just started. We started getting tweets about, oh, you should check out Teamwork. And thanks to that, that really helped us grow that word of mouth in the early days. But we had to have something unique about us to help us stand out. Learned about positioning over the years. In the early days, we used to say project management made it easy. That kind of means nothing. So it's important that your product kind of stands for something that carves out a niche or targets a niche. So if any startups here are making that mistake, do not say product X made easy or industry made easy, because that's
the
not
Uber of,
positioning. The Uber of, yeah, absolutely. So having some unique features really helped us stand out, and still does. We still have a couple of really hard to do technical features that our competitors don't. But the other thing I'd say is over the years, the SaaS market has absolutely exploded. So there's probably 8,000 MarTech products today, whereas only 3 or 4 years ago there was probably only 500 of them. So it's had a 10x explosion in the amount of products doing anything you can think of. So in this landscape where you're competing against so many, there's a lot of products that are competing on easy, simple interface. But the problem is humans' interpretation of what easy is changes all the time. So for example, you have Trello and Basecamp, and they both compete on having a really simple, easy experience. And there's probably 100 other simple task management products, and you all probably use different ones. And it's very hard to make that strategy stand out in the longer term. So what we're trying to do as a company is move a bit more upmarket, to have features that really appeal to the bigger Disneys of the world and so on.
Okay.
And that's where we're standing out, and that's where we're carving out a nice niche.
Yeah, and I guess I want to talk about features because this was one of the downsides of SaaS. You can probably hear me. One of the downsides of SaaS is churn. So this notion that you have a lot of subscribers who will buy we do it all the time, like when we consume Netflix and Spotify and stuff like that. And unless your product's really, really sticky, the chances are we'll see a credit card bill come in, we actually don't need that anymore, and we'll pass it to one side. So churn is a massive problem in SaaS. So I guess how have you, I suppose, negative churned it and grown at 40% year over year?
So related to my previous point, one of the problems with having a relatively cheap Me Too product is that you'll get people give your product a go, and because it's so cheap and they haven't really committed to an upfront cost, even if you have the best product in the world, they may just forget about it and then forget to turn it off for a few months and then just turn it off because they just got too busy and distracted with other things. Whereas if you're selling a more expensive product and they've invested in it upfront or paid upfront for an annual license, they're more invested and they're going to spend more time onboarding, and you can also sell them training and so on. So we have seen the industry churn rates for kind of low-cost SaaS products is much higher than moving to kind of mid-market or higher price SaaS products. So that's part of our strategy as well, is simply moving more upmarket reduces churn. And allows us to sell training
and
products and
is
so on.
Is the customer, the client base you're looking at?
It's what the customers are willing to pay for your product. So sure. we have 21,000 customers right now, whereas we would rather have 3,000 customers paying us 30,000 a year than 21,000 customers paying us 1,000 a year.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But
can I go back to churn? There's a few other things. Churn is, as you say, it's a huge obsession with us. It's every SaaS company. It's your lifeblood is keeping your customers. And there's different types of churn. There's customer churn, the number of customers you have, how many you're losing. But there's also revenue churn. So customer churn can be okay if you're not churning revenue. So if you have 100 customers and you lose 10 of them a year, but the net result is that you're getting more revenue off the remaining 90 customers, then you're doing okay as long as you're growing the revenue all the time. So it's important to break that distinction. We have done a load of things to reduce churn. We report it in the company every single month. There's an internal blog where we write up our churn rates, how we're doing, what have we done. We assign all our customers against customer success managers, and each customer success manager is responsible for a cohort of our customers and is responsible for if those customers churn. And then we measure all the different customer managers off each other to see how did you manage to retain a higher percentage of customers than this guy did.
You share those learnings.
And we did, yeah. And then we segment our customers by the guys who were enterprise and the guys who are large companies that have huge potential. We also kind of distinguish them. And we assign them enterprise customer success managers who actually go out on the road and visit the customers. And that has been monumental for us, actually getting up, making trips to Dallas, talking to the likes of Assay Abloy, figuring out why did you choose us in the first place? Oh, we didn't know you actually value that feature. Finding out that other customers love that feature as well, promoting that more, that's been huge. But also figuring out that they're about to leave us because they're not happy with something small. And it's small changes we can make to the product and have a huge impact and retain the customer for years.
Really, really small things. And I guess because there's that level of involvement and that level of high touch, that customer, a large customer, can actually see what his feedback has probably been implemented into the product.
Yeah, and then also, there is this thing, I know if many of you follow Jason Limkin if you're in the SaaS space, but this guy is a superstar who runs SaaStr conference over in America. But he's built multiple billion-dollar companies, and he has a philosophy that he has never lost a customer that he visits on a regular basis. And in our experience, we're finding this to be true. The bigger enterprise customers, if we actually go out and visit them, and even if they're unhappy with a feature or where we are or something's taking too long, if we can just talk to them, tell them we hear you, we're working on this, and then ultimately genuinely deliver a result or show them a workaround or something, we won't lose that customer.
Yeah, I think even in the world of web, even in the world of web, I think the warm and cuddlies are still important. You know, seeing the whites of the person's eyes is still very, very important. So
absolutely.
That's an interesting lesson. So we're talking about, I suppose, your year-over-year growth expectations are about 40%, and you want to grow the company to 250 million in 10 years, and they're just ridiculous numbers. The stuff we touched on there is targeting enterprise clients, talking about Disney, eBay, companies of that ilk. And I guess if I'm a small SaaS startup and I've got a really good piece of software, and this is not going to work. If I've got a SaaS startup, I've got a really good piece of software that's going to change the world. How do I get into a large corporate like that? Like, what's my penetration strategy there?
Yeah, so our strategy is land and expand. So we have a suite of 3 software products at the moment. We are launching a new one next week in Belfast. So watch this space. We're very excited about this product. And then 4 weeks after that, we're launching another product. So we'll have a suite of 5 products. And some of the products are a product where the entire company has to adopt the product or not. You can't sell to a team. But most of our products are adopted by a team in the organization. And it's that team. So for example, with Disney is one of the best things that ever happened to us, and that's a whole story in itself that we can go into. But it was a small team inside Disney, had a need that only our software solved. They installed Teamwork. Other people said, geez, what's that thing? That looks really good. And it started growing like gangbusters, and we started infecting the entire organization. And once you're behind the Iron Curtain, once you're in there, once you've kind of passed their security audits and stuff, you become the preferred choice when they're looking for software to solve a particular problem. And we're a trusted vendor, and we're growing rapidly inside Disney. And look, it's one of the biggest organizations in the world. Pixar are now looking at us. Pixar are part of the Disney circle. So cracking, I think it's very hard to sell to a large enterprise organization. But if you think about it, every large organization in the world is just like us, made up of small teams.
Of course.
And these teams have different needs. And if you can crack open a team, you'll... And there's nothing wrong with asking the customer for a referral as well. This was something we didn't do for years. We had really happy enterprise customers where there was teams that just loved us. And we weren't smart enough to go, hey, can we have a testimonial? Hey, is there anyone else inside your company we could give a demo to? So we're getting much smarter about aggressively going after the land.
Is there any kind of stickiness features that you'd encourage? Like, you know, I'm thinking one person downloads the app and starts using it, one person downloads Teamwork and starts using it. Is there anything like, you know, share with a friend or, you know, get someone else involved? Is there anything you kind of build into that to kind of create that spread?
One of the nice things about Teamwork Projects, our biggest product, is it's naturally designed to work with multiple people. So when you bring your contractors on board, they're naturally in the Teamwork system and they're saying, what is this thing? Where can I get a copy of this thing for myself? And there's natural word of mouth growth from that. There's more things we need to do there. We have this idea, we have to solve a few technical hurdles, but we have this idea that if you have a Teamwork Projects account and you invite me in as a collaborator from another company, that with a click of a button, I'll be able to have my own Teamwork, and the project that you've shared out will be shared over here. Okay. So that's something we're rolling out next year that we're very excited about. That'll allow huge, just automated growth, viral growth. Yeah. But then there's things we do, like we try to make it really easy for the customer to accidentally put all their files on Teamwork, so it's just becomes a complete pain in the ass to move to another system. So you try and get smarter with things like that. Try and make Teamwork the app that they use every day, that it just becomes a habit that on the train in the morning, on the way into London, I open the app and I see the activity for the day. So we're getting much better about thinking about this.
Moving towards that portal model.
Exactly, yeah.
Portal model. Okay, I want to move on to, I suppose, first time I heard of you was about 2013, and obviously the company was growing quite quickly, and I was using Slack at the time, I think, no offense. And I heard about Teamwork, and I thought it was an interesting story, and there was a lot of buzz on the Cork about you at the time. The next time I heard about you was when you made a massive, very expensive domain purchase in 2017, I'm going to say.
Yep.
So I asked my CEO, David Jefferson, if you ever spent 500,000 euros in a domain, he told me to feck off. But you had a more direct approach about purchasing that domain. Maybe share that story.
Yeah, I'll tell you the story. So when we launched, remember, we chose the god-awful domain name teamworkpm.net, which doesn't exactly roll off the tongue. And we had that domain name for a couple of years. We had a great product with terrible, terrible marketing. And finally, we hired a few marketing people, and they told us, well, actually, no. To be fair, we bought the domain name before we hired the marketing people. So what happened was, the guy we were always called Teamwork. We always knew we wanted to call the product Teamwork. It just made sense to us. teamworkpm.net. But we reached out to the guy who owned teamwork.com. And we just had this feeling in our gut that this name would give us credibility. And we'd shoot him an email every now and again saying, look, we'd love to buy teamwork.com. And he was one of these domain squatters that bought hundreds of domain names back in the day and paid €5 a year to maintain them and waited for some gullible Aegis like us to come along. I wish I did it myself. But we'd shoot him an email and he would just send us back a link, nothing else in his email. And you click the link and it would show a web page that listed all these one-word domain names like pets.com that sold for 16 million, and sex.com that sold for 20 million, insure.com that sold for 25 million, just a full list of all these. So we would just disappear for another while. And then 6 months later it would occur to us again, shoot him an email. So we might say something like, look, we'll offer you 10,000 for the domain name, and he wouldn't even reply half the time,
Okay.
And then one day I was in the pub at the Brogue in Cork, if any of you know it. And I think the person who was with me went to the bathroom, and I don't know why it popped into my head, because if you're an entrepreneur, I suppose you're always thinking about work. And I shot the guy an email, and I said, would you consider selling teamwork.com for $50,000 final offer? And I got back an instant email with 3 words in it, same lowball offer. And I was after a few pints. So I sent him back a snarky email saying, for the love of God, would you give me a realistic price? I'm sick of this shit. And he shot me back an email instantly again saying, I'd consider $675,000. So I think it was more around 2011 now. So I went, I was staring at this now, and I converted $675,000 to euros, and it was 500,000 euro exactly. So I then went to our bank account, and I logged in, and we had exactly 530,000 euro in our bank account. I was like, geez, we can afford this. So I thought about it for another 10 seconds, and I replied, sold. Let me just consult my board. As if we had a board. And then it took me 2 days. I rang my now wife at the time and told her I just bought something for €500,000. So it took me 2 days to build up the courage to tell my co-founder Dan that I just spent all his money. But I came home from work the first day, and my wife said, well, did you tell him? I said, I couldn't do it. So I went into work the second day, determined I'm going to talk to him. And I asked Dan and our CFO Billy to come into my office, and he'd talk to them. I said, look, we have an offer here to buy the domain name for €500,000. And they're like, Jesus, no, it's crazy. That's every penny we have. No, that's crazy. We can't do that. Maybe when we're bigger. Maybe a couple of years down when we're bigger. And I knew this was going to be the reaction I was going to get. So I had my Martin Luther King speech in my bag, which is, I have a dream. I said, look, we can always make more money, but this opportunity may never come along again. And the one thing I don't want in life is to be 80 years old and looking back with regret. I said, look, I think we should do it. It might be the worst thing we ever did, it might be the best thing we ever did, but feck it, we can always make more money, let's do it. And Dan looked me in the eye and he said, let's do it. So we bought the domain name. 2 months later, we launched it. January 2011, I think we launched it with a new website. And you got to remember, our domain name and our branding went from being god awful terrible to not too bad and a pretty nice one-word domain name. And just like that, our sales hockey sticked.
Yeah.
Really took off for us.
Yeah. I think people underestimate the value of your own top-level domain, your own .com. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, kudos.
So it paid for itself, I think, in 12 months. So yeah, not bad.
Go buy your domain names, buy your .coms. Okay, brilliant. So that's obviously one element of the brand, and the Teamwork brand now has become fairly synonymous with productivity right around the world. But recently, you've gone through another massive change, and the rebrand is a massive change. Maybe talk about how you've kind of evolved and how this new brand, this rebrand, still the same name, but the rebrand is kind of represents that.
Yeah, so we've had a whole lot of evolution over the years, from being 2 developer nerds to 20 people in an office to 40 people spread over 2 floors to people in several buildings to becoming a multi-product company was a huge step. The relaunch of teamwork.com, buying teamwork.com, launching it, hiring good marketing people finally.
The rare.
Hiring, starting our sales team, moving into the enterprise space when Disney became our first enterprise customer. But part of the evolution as well is realizing that the company actually needs a CEO and stepping up to be a CEO instead of just developing code every day. And Dan, my co-founder, realizing the company needs a CTO. And the 2 of us locking ourselves away in a room and kind of getting aligned on how big we want the company to be, because he had a totally different idea than I did. He was happy with a relatively small company and no stress, where I was like, feck it, let's blow this up, why not, for the crack of it. So we got aligned on that, and we finally wrote down our values and all this. A big evolution along the way. But then we got to the point where we were a multi-product company with 2 products. We built a help desk product because people were asking us what help desk integrates great with teamwork projects. And we kind of got this, I got this idea that we could make this amazing help desk where if a ticket comes in, you could create the task right there on the ticket. And then when the task gets done over here, it kind of completes the cycle, so you can now tell the customer we've sorted that problem for you and everything lives in harmony. And then the vision expanded from there to, we could build a suite of products to solve, because we have the brand to do this now as well, to solve the pain points of just about every company, because we think that every company has this problem that you're probably using 10 to 20 different SaaS products from different vendors, and you're using things like Zapier to try and wire them together and using the integrations and APIs, and nothing works as smoothly and elegantly as it should. Whereas the other thing, we could have this beautiful, elegant experience where you use our suite of products and all the data just flows. If you update a customer's identity in one product, it updates in another. And you could start with any one of our products, and the idea is we'd have your credit card in file, and you'd be so impressed with our product that you would explore the other product, and before you know it, you're using the entire suite. Because we see that happening with Atlassian. People sign up for usually Jira or Confluence, and next thing they know, they're using the entire Atlassian suite of products, even though some of those products are horrible. But we want to build great products, but we have this really strong vision to have a suite of products, about 10 products. You can kind of picture what they all are, but for the customer experience, everything is just seamless and beautiful across it. And within your company, everything happens automatically. And when you're bringing people on board, they automatically have the right level of access to everything. And when you remove member staff, they're automatically removed from everything. So all your kind of security concerns are sorted as well.
Okay.
So with that vision, so that's the background. And we believe, by the way, that the SaaS market is converging on this vision. There's a couple of other big SaaS companies with hundreds of millions behind them that have, we think, the same idea, that they want to build a suite of products. So we're in this arms race, but we think we can do it better. We think we've got a couple of unique things going on with our platform, such as all the apps being on the same domain name, so that there's no security restrictions and so on, but I won't bore you with the technical details. But we kind of looked at this strategy and we looked at our brand and we realized that our brand is kind of dated. It also didn't really reflect who we were even right now as a company. So one of the things we've always been fanatical on is our customer support. From the days when we were a consultancy right through when we were product developers, and it was myself and Dan answering every feedback. We brought on a friend of ours who's now Dan's brother-in-law, which is weird. But Adrian, and we really instilled in Adrian, look, customers are center of everything we do, and you look after the customer first and get back to them crazy fast and all this. And we've kept that ethos right throughout as we've grown the company, but we've never reflected this on our website or in our brand values. We also kind of think we have a couple other traits going on. over the years we've decided that we're going to give, before we got too big, we said, let's start this now. 1% of all our profits goes to good causes. Because we feel that companies nowadays need to stand for something. Right. It can't be just about making money exclusively anymore. And we think young people are going to want to work for a company that stands for something as well. And the other thing with that is it's the staff that gets to decide where this money goes, not us, which is great because we can just point at the staff and say, ask them.
And it gets them buy-in as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
But it takes off your plate and gives them buy-in.
It does, yeah. But there's lots of things we were doing with our brand and it just wasn't reflected. Also, we didn't have a great visual identity. So if you looked at our different apps on your iPhone or your Android device, they didn't even look like they were from the same company. Whereas if you look at the Teamwork apps now, they're beautiful, white, elegant icons that are really sexy. And it kind of makes you want to collect them all. But, it's part of the whole suite strategy. But we were just representing ourselves as a brand much better, and it's about much more than just the colours and logos. It's about how we communicate. So we did a lot of thinking, for example, about how do we elegantly, concisely explain the brand vision, and you wouldn't believe how much work we put into these couple of words. But we finally settled on working together beautifully. That was about 6 months of work just to get those 3 words.
It's hard though. It's hard from that brand messaging point of view. I know that. So that's well done. And didn't cost you €500,000. It
did actually.
So the stuff you touched on there was, I suppose, wrapping around your core values and the culture and what that means. And I kind of want to slide on to just culture and talent in general, teamwork. You said it's the best place to be a developer. Teamwork is the best place to be a developer in a Medium post that you read. I suppose, what did you mean by that, or what does that look like in reality?
Well, there's a few of them down the back there, so geez, I'm a bit nervous kind of about this. Just in case somebody asks them. But I suppose partly it's aspirational, but I think there's a lot of honesty in it as well. So first of all, myself and Dan are 2 developer nerds who started the company, and I think that brings a kind of ethos to the company of developer first. We're not just about extracting as much money out of the company. There's a genuine vision. There's a genuine care for the customer. But there's also, because we're a self-funded company and we're not beholden to the shareholders, we can be the company we want to be, and we can grow. We can sacrifice a little growth to be a better company. And there's a lot of things we do. We used to try and give every developer their own office. We still strive to do this, but it's getting really hard at scale. So unfortunately, we've a combination. We mostly have people have their own offices. We've a little bit open plan, but we're working on developing more offices. We have plans for a 400-person office in Cork that is like a mini version of the new Apple campus. They're spending $4 billion on it, and we're spending a little bit less. But the idea, when we get this built, every developer is going to have an office with a door you can close. We pay really well, and then on top of that, we have a bonus scheme. And we think that if you look at Daniel Pink's work, I don't know if you come across this, but he's very well known. He's got great videos on YouTube about what motivates people. And it turns out once you get past a certain amount of revenue, people become no longer kind of motivated by an extra $2,000, $3,000 isn't going to massively change my life. But if you can give them 3 things, he found, it's going to transform how they feel about the work and the company. And he found that those 3 things are autonomy, mastery, and purpose. So we try to have every team in the company be fully autonomous. So yes, there's a vision set from the top, and sometimes there's a bit of cat herding where we stop people going off and plugging in 20 different technologies. We say, look, can we come together, agree what is the best technology, and all go together with that one. But apart from that, we try and have every team be an autonomous and choose their own mission for the year, and choose their own mission for the months, and then everything aligns together with the company values. And part of that as well is letting developers. We have this kind of philosophy in the company. It's one of our core values, is that good ideas can come from anywhere. So it doesn't matter if you're in the company.
Oh wow!
It doesn't matter if you're in the company 2 weeks.
All around. I'm just correct. I think your mind's more important than mine, somewhere.
But anyway, we try to promote autonomy every turn and get good ideas from anyone. So we have several mechanisms for you to pitch good ideas, and we try and give people hackathons where they can show their best work and go off and work on interesting ideas and pitch it to the entire company, not just to us. And this idea that...
Just on that, I know Google tried this 80-20 rule a little while ago and they scrapped it. It didn't work out. So it was 80% of the time was your day-to-day.
Yeah,
20% of the time was creative projects.
It's kind of chaotic, you know. I'd rather people get together at a hackathon and show us something amazing, and we go, geez, that actually is amazing. Everybody here agrees it's amazing. Why don't we go off on that or put it on the roadmap?
And we're going a cappella.
So we try and promote. There's a balance in all things. Is something I'm finding in life. You know, I think Google probably went a bit too extreme with that. Now they're after reining it in. We're trying to find the right balance with everything, and we don't always get it right. And the company are entitled. They know the broad mission of what we're trying to achieve, and staff are entitled to point out to us where we're getting it wrong within that mission parameters.
And
Mastery and purpose are important as well. So just a little bit on that. Yeah. We are a learning company. We tell every single person in the company, when you join us, we bring you for a coffee with the founders. And one of the things we say is, we're a learning organization. If you're not learning all the time on this job, I don't care if you're doing sales for the last 40 years, if you think you know everything, then you're in the wrong company, because there's always more to learn. And no matter what role you're in, no matter what level in the company you're at, and stay humble as well as part of that as well. So you have to be learning and sharing what you're learning and learning off others and reading books and so on. If that's not you, you're in the wrong place. And the last part is purpose, which kind of goes back to the 1% value, but also this mission of we genuinely want to have this huge impact on the world and help companies drive massive efficiencies by having the suite of products that works together.
Okay. That's really, really interesting. So I think we chatted a bit on the phone about the talent war that's raging, particularly in IT.
Yeah.
And obviously those core values are very, very, very important.
So there's other things we do. I should mention that we let every developer pick whatever software or hardware they want to do their best work, rather than dictating. You want 2 screens, you want 3 screens, you want 4 screens, whatever you want. You want a laptop, you want a PC, you want a Dell, you want a MacBook,
this
whatever.
This is turning into a recruitment pitch.
But you did ask.
Teamwork.com are hiring. Actually, there's a question before the next question I want to get to. Yeah. So I don't know if anyone's heard of the rule of 150. It's an anthropological term from Dunbar. Read it up if you haven't. Basically, it says that human societies tend to kind of collapse when it kind of reaches a critical mass of 150, and more and more now we're studying that in companies a lot more, and we're kind of seeing a change dynamic as companies reach beyond that 150 number. I'm curious to hear if Teamwork's experiences of that and how you've kind of, I suppose, overcome that obstacle.
Yeah, so I definitely agree with that. So it's interesting. I could be walking into work some morning now, and there could be some person walking in parallel with me towards the office, and I don't know if they're working for Teamwork or not. So you just have to assume they are, and often or not they are. I was away for 2 weeks there because we just had the baby for a week, and I came back and I met 3 new people. It's just crazy now, the amount of how fast we're growing, and you just can't know all the people and can't know all the faces. And it becomes so important once you get past 100 people that, first of all, you define your values, what this company stands for and what you don't stand for, so that everybody knows what's acceptable and what's not acceptable and where you want to be, because you won't have the chance to look everyone in the eye and explain this face to face. So, but I would say if somebody had said to me in the early days that you need to have written values for your company when we were just trying to get a bloody product people wanted, I would have punched them in the face. So if you're a startup, don't worry about values until you're like 50, 60, 70 people. At that point, it's very important to get your values, because your values exist, and you exhibit them every day, but it's important you codify it. And then you start codifying some processes. We're very careful not to have too many processes in the company. Someone brings in 2 dogs that shit all over the place. We don't want to suddenly have a no dogs in the office policy. We're just like, can you use a bit of common sense, lads? So we don't have. We don't have to. This actually happened last year. That's why it was top of mind. But don't bring in your 2 giant huskies into the office at the same time. Maybe one at a time. But there's a lot of things that have to happen if you want to maintain the company you are. One of the things we find is really important is that we get together once a month and we go through everything. We go through what's our mission for the year, what's our mission for the quarter, what our big goals are, how we're doing so far, and then critically, we go through our values, our core values every single month after month, because it's only when people hear it the 10th time that it really sinks in. Yeah. And there's 100 other things we do. Teamwork picks up the tab, where we encourage people from different teams. If you go to lunch together, we'll pick up the tab.
Class.
As long as you don't abuse it and go for lunch with the same people every day. But we're constantly thinking about culture and what we can do to fix it. One of the best things we put in this bit of software that allows us to have 2-way anonymous conversation with all our employees. Cool. So So we say to our employees, like, there's a level 10, there's a meeting at every level in the company every week, which is where you should be able to air your concerns and grievances. We ask people not to leave anything fester, because that's the worst thing that can happen. Get it off your chest, tell us about your concerns. If you feel you can't say it to your team lead, there's something going on. If one-to-ones aren't happening, there's something going on, let us know. Say it either the head of HR, approach me directly, or if you feel you can't use that, you can use this anonymous two-way feedback system.
Do they trust it?
They do, yeah, they absolutely do. I mean, we've stood in front of the company.
It's always fine employees looking up, like, you say it's anonymous,
No, it's completely anonymous. We genuinely have no idea. And we've got some simple things like, geez, the music being played in the second floor is too loud and it's driving me crazy. They never would have actually said that in person, whereas we can go, it's a simple thing to sort, and it really affects how someone feels about their workplace. And it's just somebody not thinking typically, But we've got some fantastic feedback, ideas. I would say 90% of it is really positive, 10% of it is things we need to fix. But I think it's created a huge level of trust in the company as well. And then we have the final kind of level, we have this thing called Feed the CEO Monkey. And it's just a Google form. Whereas if last resort, you're not getting, you're really fed up, you can send me something directly and I'll deal with it as my promise. But I'll also, at the next all hands, I'll read it out in front of the entire company and I'll answer it honestly.
I love that. That's really good. Yeah,
so we rob ideas off everybody, by the way. So we're like the Borg, right? We assimilate good ideas into the collective. So if we hear HubSpot had a great idea, we'll go, that's great. And we hear Google had a great idea, and we adopt it to work for us. And some things work, some things don't work. But constantly working on this. And
obviously, this is the reason why you've got such a talented team. This has been able to fuel your growth. The campus in Cork, Teamwork Campus down in Cork. I mean, this is obviously, we chatted about this a while ago. It's a huge draw factor because if you can't really compete in salary with multinationals, but you can compete on culture, you can compete on values, you can compete on work lifestyle. But tell us a bit about the campus that opened just a couple of years ago.
Yeah, so
it has slides.
So it has 2 slides. We meet for coffee every morning. We have for years now at the same place every day, Costa Coffee in Cork. And it's open invite, sit there in the freezing cold with us if you want in the morning. Not too many people do, but it's great. We just chat about technology or chat about movies or whatever, and then we go do our work. But we used to pass this building every morning, this building that was just sitting there. Our old office was up the road in a kind of business park, and it was kind of really dull, and there wasn't other companies around the place. From driving up there from Costa Coffee, we used to be passing this beautiful building that was just built at the wrong time, and was sitting there idle for a couple of years. And it was a bit of a dream of mine wouldn't it be amazing if we were in that building? And finally we got big enough where we needed a building, so we were looking into it. And as luck would have it, Dennehy's gym were going in downstairs in the building, and the rest of the building was available for let. So a gym going in downstairs really suited us. So we got the building at a song, basically. We tried to buy the building, they wouldn't sell it as one of these vulture funds. And then we got the building, got locked into a long-term lease agreement that they can't increase the price too much. And then we did an amazing fit out of the office. And I remember walking through the office with the architects, Henry J. Lyons, who were fantastic, if you're ever looking for someone. And I said, look, here's where we'll put the slide. And they were like, are you serious? And I said, well, could we do it? And they were like, geez, yeah, we could cut through that roof, but are you serious? And then the long story is, so we said we could do it, and we got permission that as long as we restore the office back to the way we left it, we could, get rid of the slides and put the floors back, we can do whatever we want. So we actually were looking around then, where the hell do you get a slide made for your office? And we were looking at importing it from Germany, but it turns out, it's pretty, I don't know their name now, but some metal fabricators in Limerick, who normally do gates and stuff and don't do projects like this, we said, could you build a slide for us? And they said, fuck it, we'd love to build a slide for you. I think before they delivered it to our office, they tested it well enough anyway. But they built in 2 amazing half-ton steel slides into our office, and we built up this stunning office around it. Now, and we didn't do it necessarily to attract talent. Now, we knew somewhere deep down that it would help attract talent, but at this point, we just wanted an office that we were proud to come to work to every day. And it wasn't really about competing with Google, Obviously, you look at the pictures and you go, that's beautiful, I'd love an office like that. Wouldn't that be class if we had a meeting room? Wouldn't it be class if we had a hidden door to, a big bookshelf with a hidden door, you open it and there's a music room behind it. Wouldn't that be class? And it was just more for fun. We built this stunning office. Yeah. And I love this stuff, so I was really threw myself into the project, and the architects did a great job. And we now have a stunning office, and it really has been fantastic for recruitment.
Yeah.
Now, some people don't get to work in the building. They go, that's amazing. And then we say, you're working in that building over there. so we or the lads here in Limerick who they work just over the road there, and it's not nearly as nice. In fact, I promised them some office plants today. You'll get that, lads.
That's why we're here.
But yeah, it has been fantastic for recruitment. Geez, it was a lot of money for the office, but then again, we don't have shareholders. So we're not trying to just drive as much profit as we can for the founders and extract money out of the company every year. We have a bigger vision, a longer term vision, and we want it to be a fun place to come to work every day as well.
It sounds like you've achieved that. I think any office with a slide is a fun place to
We're
work.
currently fitting out a beautiful office in Belfast as well that guy back there, Philip, is working on. He's done a stunning design for that as well. So
Sweat comes down the brow there.
You ask some more about that later.
Yeah. So I'm going to finish up last couple of questions. I just want to talk about the future. So I'm curious about the future of work, because you have data of the 24,000 users worldwide. I'm curious what trends you've seen from 2007 to now, and maybe where you see that going in the future.
Yeah, so we have 21,000 customers, but every customer could have hundreds of people online. So at any point in time, we've 500,000 people using our products plus in every country in the world. It's kind of mad. So we do have a lot of data, but we don't necessarily pry in the customers' data. You know, we don't go into customers' accounts unless they invite us in to look at a problem. That's a rule. And even if support people go in, there's a big warning saying, look, if you're accessing this without permission, you will be fired. It's black and white, you know. But anyway, so that's an important thing to clarify.
Absolutely.
But we have seen a couple of trends, definitely. So there's a couple of huge trends that play in the world. One of the biggest ones is, I mentioned it earlier on, is young people want to work for a company that stands for something. And you're going to see that trend continue more and more in the future. And I think you're going to see companies get more and more involved with it. Another one is remote work is monstrous. So take Facebook coming to Dublin, and they're hiring 5,000 developers. And all of us who are in need technology people are competing against that. Naturally, we can't pay the wages they can. We're not making hundreds of billions like they are every year. So more and more people are being forced to embrace remote teams.
Sure.
And then the flexibility is the last thing as well, is that we're quickly evolving so that people don't necessarily have to be chained to their office. So you can be on the road, and you can use software systems like Teamwork to be effective no matter where you are. If you're on the road or you're working from home, clock in, flexible hours, it doesn't really matter as long as the work gets done. That's the other huge trend I'm seeing. And so I think it's very important that as a employer that you see these changes coming and you get ahead of the curve. So at Teamwork, we allow 20% of our workforce to be remote from any team. So we think it's important to have a team clustered in one place, wherever that is, but then 20% of that team can be remote at any time.
Yeah, you guys don't have, like, you won't have one single developer working, you'll kind of have a group or maybe a pod.
Yeah, pod is. So we also, the rate at which we're getting great people for not just development, but for every role in Cork City isn't fast enough, which is why we have office in Limerick, which is why we have an office in Belfast, Buenos Aires, Barcelona, Boston recently, and Amsterdam. And it wasn't an accident that we chose these locations. We did this huge survey where we asked everybody we could think of, every CEO, every entrepreneur, read everything we could on the internet, and we put every city that was recommended into a spreadsheet. And then we rated them on things like stability of government, cost of developers, availability of talent, and a million other things, rental space, university ecosystem, and all this. And it was interesting that Belfast came out number 4 in the world on our list. Actually, we shouldn't be telling anyone because you've got these security company multinationals going into Belfast, and it's really boring stuff. Developers see us as a much more interesting project to work on.
Yeah. Very good. I'm going to wrap it up there. I'm excited to see your growth over the next 10 years. You're talking about a 250 million euro turnover. Is that kind of the...
Yeah, so our long-term plan is to get 450 million annual recurring revenue. That's the dream. 10 products in the suite, have as big impact on the world as possible. We're at 25 million now. We're ramping up our sales team. We're 2 new products launching. Hopefully we'll continue growing 30-40% year on year. We may have to take investment in the future. We may have to go even faster. But yeah, watch the space.
Excellent. So we'll do Q&A.
All right.
Actually, we'll do a round of applause first. Peter, thank you so much.
Thank you. Cheers, buddy.
Down the back.
What is the biggest risk factor in your future? I won't say growth because that sometimes gets like profit and growth and so on, but like the risk to the success vision that you have.
Not going fast enough. So we're completely self-funded, and all our growth comes out of our profits, right? So, for example, we bought a site in Cork for 2 million 2 years ago. It probably wasn't the smartest way to spend 2 million at this stage of growth, you know. We've so much we want to do. We've new products we want to start. We've massive improvements we want to make to the existing products, but we're bumping up against profitability. So, like, we can only afford to take on about 80 people this year. You know, things will grow, and then we can take on another 100 and so on. But then we're competing with companies that have 800 million in the bank and are directly competing with us. And as I said, the SaaS industry is converging on this. There's going to be a couple of companies in a few years' time, and not that long, maybe 5 years' time, that are going to have a suite of products, and those companies are going to have a disproportionate share of the SaaS market. We want to be one of those companies, if not the outright leader. And if we don't go fast enough, we may completely miss this opportunity.
Down there.
You talked earlier about your segment of your customers and transitioning, presuming from SMBs to small teams and enterprise.
Yep.
How did you find that transition? And one of your core things is to treat the customer great, right? And
Yep.
customer success is a core part of it. How are you going to scale that with numbers like this, but with recruitment challenges that you have?
So, yeah, we're transitioning from being a company that has 21,000 relatively small customers. We'd rather have 5,000 customers paying us 30,000. There's more scale options there and so on. But we can't alienate the existing base either. So one of the biggest changes we made to the company was we realized that the pricing model we had wasn't fit for purpose. It wasn't going to allow us to scale. So we had this kind of flat-tiered pricing where you would pay us for the amount of projects you had. And we had companies that had 1,000 users in Teamwork projects that were paying us 50 quid a month, for example. So we've evolved our model to be, you have to pay us $9 per user per month, and you can have unlimited projects. So this allows us scale much more rapidly as we expand into organizations. But one of the things we had to do was grandfather all our old customers. And it was a huge decision in the company. Is this the right thing to do? How long do we grandfather them for? And we originally said that we'd grandfather you for 3 years. And we started getting a lot of the smaller customers leaving us. And then because they were worried about the future.
When you say grandfather?
Grandfather means you don't increase the prices on them ever.
Okay.
You say, we advertised $3 to you, even though we've increased the price to $10, you're going to get $3 forever. We're not going to come back and force you to upgrade. So we've decided now that we're going to grandfather forever. If that's what we advertise to you, that's what you're going to get. But hopefully we'll make money when you adopt the other products in the suite and so on. Okay. But it's been a monumental change in mindset for us. And the pricing model is one of the most important things to get right in a SaaS business. We neglected it for years. We kind of set it day one, touched it a couple of years later and left it. Whereas now we realize the pricing model is something you got to be changing. Probably every 6 months you should be doing a pricing experiment.
Anyone else?
I don't know if I answered your question fully.
A couple of questions, but really interested in, so as you grow, so you've got the age-old IBM, Microsoft, these big companies that were once startups and agile and flexible and growing, and now you're seeing it even whether it's Facebook or not.
Yeah.
You know, how do you see, it seems everybody falls into that incumbent strategy,
Yeah.
time frame. How do you see you kind of escaping that and growing?
So there's a couple of things. Number one is minimal viable bureaucracy. So we try not to introduce too much bureaucracy into the company, try and really deliberately say no to things. You know, do we need that meeting? Do a meeting audit every now and again, kill things? Do we need that policy? Can we combine policies? How can we be more lean? How can we be faster? And always have that mindset. The other thing is, if you look at the history of Nokia, for example, a fantastic technology-led company with, believe it or not, cutting-edge technology at the time, doing billions of dollars of revenue, right? then it became less of a technology company over time and became more of a marketing and sales company because it became all about selling the great technology. And that evolution happens naturally. But then what happened was when massive disruption happened in their industry, they didn't adopt to it, and they didn't respond to it. And there's an open letter from a Nokia employee to the management of the company saying, for the love of God, will you let us create an iPhone competitor? So you had all these amazing engineers and designers in the company, but the top brass wouldn't leave them evolve and leave them change. And I think we try and learn the lessons of history, and we're not going to leave that happen is the plan. So part of this is that good ideas can come from anywhere. So this is why it's so important that we say to everybody, your first week in the company, it doesn't matter if you're an intern, if you see us doing something stupid or see there's an opportunity, we ask you to think like an owner and please point it out and constantly push us and control us, because we don't always get it right at the top levels, and we want to hear from you. And I think it's just being aware of that all the time, and maybe we'll make the mistakes, but we'll certainly try not to.
And my other question then is, so if you're competing with people who have 800 million in the bank,
Yeah.
and it's when you're growing organically, you don't have any shareholders, do you think you get to a point where you go, we got to consider this if we want to grow?
Yeah, absolutely. So by the way, we're in the process of giving 10% of the company into a share option pool for the staff and for key employees and board and all that. And I think that's really important that we do that. Sorting that out in Ireland isn't easy, by the way, but that's a side point. But yeah, so I said there that if we don't go faster, we may miss the boat. We may have to take on money, not because I want to take on money. You know, we could keep growing nicely, and we'll be up to, I think we probably get to 100 million. You know, even if we're not first, even if we never fully develop our strategy, we'll do okay. But if we want to get there faster, we're probably going to have to take investment. And it kills me to say that. But if we do it, it's going to be off a company that has a proven track record, who are bloody decent to work with, and who are SaaS focused exclusively. We're not just going to take on any money for the sake of it. Yep.
Stephen?
Really interested to learn a little bit more about, you said earlier to combat your churn, you do a lot of understanding customer engagement, customer success. So how do you rebuild the customer's engagement if the usage starts dropping off, or the holy grail of SaaS is usage? So
Yeah.
how do you track that, or how do you kind of?
That's a great question. No, that's a good question. So I should say, look, just because I'm up here, I should really point out that we always don't get it right. We get it wrong a lot of the time, but we're constantly refining. The lads will know, we've these internal blog posts where we're incredibly honest about, geez, our churn rate's terrible, what are we going to do to fix this? We might try something for a few months, it might be wrong. Constantly learning and constantly trying things. But back to that point, one of the things we've done is we've identified what are the key things that equals a customer who's going to stay with us. So for example, we went back looking at, and this is still an ongoing process, looking at the data, what are the attributes that will predict if a customer is going to be successful. So one of the things we found is if they're using our task templates function in Teamwork projects, it means they're probably pretty much locked in. And we would like them, and usually if they're using that by 6 months in, they're probably going to stay with us for life. So now with that realization, we've created health scores based on these metrics where you might have a customer that's happily paying us, saying all the right things, but when you look at their health score might only be 30%. They're not using the key features of the product, they're not logging in as often as we want. And it's whatever we define as a health score. We're constantly changing this and tweaking it and getting better at the data and becoming more data driven in general. We hired a data analyst last year for the first time, whose entire job it is to work on reports and insights and data like this. But now that we have the health score and that every account is assigned to a customer success manager, it's now the customer success manager's job to drive up that health score. And obviously they focus on the ones that are paying us the most amount of money but have the highest chance of churning, is where they put all their focus.
The sweet spot.
Yep.
Danny, I think, had a question first. Shane?
You said you started in 2007, so obviously smartphones are only taking off, iPhone are only
Yep.
just been launched. How has mobile impacted the products that Teamwork build? And I suppose as part of that, what percentage are on mobile on the platform as opposed to desktop, or do you make that difference at all?
So how was mobile impacted first? So yeah, as soon as the iPhone came out, we ourselves wanted an iPhone app. So we had one developer who worked on iPhone back then. He used a hybrid technology called Accelerator, where you could build something and it would automatically work on Android and work on iPhone and stuff. And that got us by with one guy limping on this. But it's become so important to have amazing mobile apps now that we have massively invested in our mobile development teams, and I think we've 8 or 9 people on our Android team, and we've I think 6 or so people on our iOS team, and looking for more good developers all the time. And we're going fully native with all our apps. So we have a brand new version of our Teamwork Projects app about to drop, and it's a million times more beautiful, properly designed as well, because the old versions were developer designed and hacked together, and they weren't really, we didn't go out and ask the customer what are the 5 core things you're looking for and optimize the experience for that. Whereas we are with the new versions. The new versions, typically on the mobile phone, people are looking at what's their agenda for the day, what's been going on in the office, they want to quickly assign a task, they want to quickly look at the schedule, things like that on the mobile phone. And then we optimize for those core experiences. So we've gone native, fully native with our Teamwork Chat app. We're about to launch our fully native Teamwork Projects app on iOS and Android. And we're switching all our products over. It's incredibly important that we get that right. I don't have what percentage of people are using it every day, though, so sorry about it.
One final question, maybe.
Yeah, just a question there about culture. Culture is obviously hugely important to you and your business partner. And just obviously, culture in Ireland is one thing. In Cork and in Belfast, everyone's kind of the same thinking. But when you locations around the world, is keeping that culture a challenge while you're growing?
Yeah, absolutely. Of course it is. Yeah, and we've learned this off. Our experience and off other companies. What mistakes they made when they went into other countries. So first of all, with our own staff, we get anonymous feedback using those systems that it's unfair that you've all these perks in the Cork office that we don't have in the Barcelona office. So we do try and balance these things and be aware of it. We also have this thing called the Grand Council, where we bring everybody together once a year. And we do a lot of workshops. What's wrong, what's right, where could we be better, how do we get more alignment? It's all about alignment. Are we going the same direction? And then we have a couple of fun days and get lashed together. So I think that drives culture together. It really does help, Yeah. On the other side of things, we've recently just opened an office in Boston. And this guy at the back of the room, Philip, that a lot of you know, Philip has bravely volunteered to move to Boston for a year for us to help bring our culture over there.
He's delighted.
But I think it's really, we've learned off other companies that's really important that someone from the leadership team goes over, because otherwise the culture won't translate and they won't really get it. And somebody who they can ask directly, they don't have to send an email home saying, is this thing okay? I think that's really important, and we'll do more of that in the future.
I think that's it. That's everyone. Thank you so much, as always. Do you have another question?
No, I said
No, all good.
ask the question.
You can chat to him afterwards. Guys, thank you so much, as always,
Cheers,
for
lads.
coming along to Startup Grind. Thank you to Peter
Pleasure.
again for fantastic talk.
Thanks for having me, lads.
Really appreciate it. With some beers and pizzas, so you can hang around for a little while. We'll be back maybe next month.
Yeah.
But possibly the month after. We just need to finalise the speaker. It's going to be hopefully not a big one. So yeah, thank you very much. Take care.
Pleasure. Thanks, bud. Gentle enough.
Cheers, man.
This is good.
All right.